Okay, so right around early 2000, I was given a job, had a job offer in Chicago, and moved out there with, at the time, my girlfriend, now my wife, Alon. And we were out there. They were nice. The company was nice enough to fly us out so that we could look for a place together. And we were looking at these apartments, and we found a few of them, and we had one kind of in our queue that we would probably get, but we weren't very happy about it. It wasn't very inviting. It was just a place to stay. So at work, I remember the guy saying there, or at potentially would become work, saying we should just hoof it, walk around, because there's lots of places, lots of brownstones in Chicago that would be awesome to live in, and they don't usually post it anywhere. They just kind of stick a sign up. So we took their advice, and we started walking around this area called Damon, or I think Damon Avenue, and we were walking along, and we see that this particular house, this one unit, it's not a house, it's a brownstone, painted really awesomely. It was kind of like a purplish grays and some blues, and you could tell it was an older place. And we walked up on it, and the place was being redone, and you can kind of see it was really awesome inside, like really really quaint. It was built around 1900s, and it was a two-level place, and it was a unit downstairs and had really nice wood floors and really beautiful ornate stairway, and a neat entry that led into the apartment, and the other apartment upstairs, which happened to be where the landlord lived. Just a really awesome place, and my wife fell in love with it immediately. She said, "Dano, I really want to live in this place." And I thought, well, we don't even we don't even know if it's available. So we kind of peeked in, and it turns out that the place was indeed available. There was a little sign there. So I think I was a little worried about my finances, because again, this was my first big job, and I was doing freelance before that. So a little worried about the price of it. And we called the landlady to see if we could get in there and take a look or talk to her. We let her know, this was our last day, I think, that we were there. Let her know we were interested in this apartment. Let her know my situation and that we really wanted this place. And we ended up getting it. It was a really awesome place on Damon. I remember the address. The number address had a very cool ring to it, but I didn't want to share it with you because I want it to be private for whoever's there now. Because I know that it was sold after shortly before we moved out. Really cool place. Really, the restoration was really nice. Hardwood floors. There was a little room that was kind of a den and office, and it went back into the kitchen, and the bedroom was right off the kitchen, which was not uncommon for structures of that day. And there was no dishwasher, but it had a sink, and the cabinets were really nice, and the kitchen was done really well, and it was really spacious. And so we were able to take this apartment. It was really awesome. Again, built 1900s. Really, really great place. And I end up moving into it probably a month before my wife, Alon, is able to move there. This is the first big move for her out of Oregon. So she stays behind for a month to wrap some things up, and I go ahead and move out there. And I live there for a month before she gets out. So I'm there, and the landlady's great. She lives upstairs. She has a boyfriend that lives with her. He's a really great guy. And I'm waiting for the furniture to get there it's not set to be there for, I think, almost a month. I think the furniture gets there as Alon would get there. So I spent a lot of time by myself in this apartment unit, and I didn't have any furniture at all, and it was very quiet, very nice place, hardwood floors again. So we walked around. It was creaky. It didn't feel any different to me than any other place. I was sleeping in the bedroom, but I didn't have anything to sleep on, so I was just sleeping on basically my packed clothes on the floor, on this very hardwood floor from the 1900s. Very uncomfortable. So I've been living there, I think I was there about a week and a half, and I ran into the landlady who lives upstairs, Anna, and her boyfriend, and I'm out there talking to him. I can't remember if it's a weekend or from my way to work, and they stopped to talk to me and asked me how it's going, how work is going and stuff. And it was great, my first new job, and I liked the office and the people. It was a great experience for me. And then she kind of looks at her boyfriend and says, "How's the apartment?" To which I thought, that's strange. It doesn't seem like you're asking if I like the apartment. You're asking me something else. And I kind of quirk up and I go, "Why is the place haunted?" And they both look at each other and they both go, "There's something there." And I go, "Are you serious?" Because I'm kind of like, "Well, I thought I was just joking. What are you guys talking about?" So this particular flat, again built in the 1900s, and they asked me this question. And the reason they asked me is because, her boyfriend was from Mexico, and deep Mexico. So his family kind of could feel things, and Pacheco, his name was Pacheco, could feel something in that unit, he said to Anna, and Anna felt it too. And so they did sage and stuff. They did some stuff there. So they told me they did sage and stuff, which I didn't understand what the heck they were talking about. And they said, so it should be fine. And it was never really a problem, but there was something there. And I just thought, okay, because I wasn't really in belief of whatever they were telling me. So to give you perspective, all this stuff that happened to me happened years ago, like the stuff in Hawkins. That was when I was a kid, and here I am, almost my 30s. I think I was late 20s, and they're telling me about this, and I haven't had an experience within that time, really, with anything ghost or paranormal. And I processed the stuff that happened to me as a kid as just crazy and just a misunderstanding, which is totally insane. Now that I've said this twice out loud, but it was just a way for me to cope. So when she said, the place is haunted, or something, or the place has something in there, it was never really bad. I just thought, okay, no big deal. And so I didn't think anything more of it at all. I was there, living in this apartment that had no furniture, which was more troublesome to me than it possibly being haunted. But then I remember this one night I was there. I was on my hunk of clothing trying to sleep. I had brought a lamp with me. I think I put it in a box, and I brought it with me on the plane. This is before 9/11, so you could put all kinds of crazy stuff in boxes. Again, early 2000. So actually the year of 9/11, so it hadn't happened yet. This is just a few months before. So I'm again in the apartment. I'm trying to sleep. I hear a little bit of rustling up front. So again, I'm in the bedroom, which is out in the very back of the house, the very last room you can go into. So I walk out into the kitchen dining room, and then past the bathroom, and then there's a door there that goes to the front room. So I open up the door to the front room, which I wasn't really living in because there's nothing there, but there's no furniture. It's just nothing. I'm waiting for furniture. So I walk in, and I turn the lights on, and I walk to the front where the entry is, and I don't really use the entry to go to work because the back door is adequate. I go out the back, and it's actually closer to work. So this front door, I walk up to it, and it's kind of in this entry, and it's dark because the light that I turned on just lights up the front room, but it doesn't quite light up that entry. The entry has its own light. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Where'd that noise come from? And I look at the front door. Front door's closed. So I think, well, I don't know. So I turn around, and just as I turn around, I hear the front door unlatch. And I look at the door, and just as I'm looking at it, the door unlatches and and pushes open just a little bit. Little squeaky door. And I'm thinking, wow, that was really weird. What just happened? So I go up to the front door and I look at it and examine it. I look outside. Anna, you out here? Pacheco? No, nobody's here. Because I think, well, maybe they came in through the front door. And I just think, well, maybe when I first opened this door, I didn't shut it all the way. Which is really weird because this thing, I mean, it's a deadbolt. And but it's like a half bolt. So you can push on it and it's got a little slant in it. So you can close the door. And you can't really push it so that it's half closed, because it's got that bolt that's more of a wedge, and it's all springy. If you try to leave it halfway, that springiness will pop that door open. So it was a little weird, and I just thought, well, maybe I just didn't shut the front door, no big deal. So I pushed it, and there's this little button there that you're supposed to latch to make sure it's locked, and so I hit the little latch, and it seems to be locked. And I just think, well, didn't think anything of it until some stuff that had happened later on. So again, this house, no furniture, nothing. I've been living there by myself. I'm waiting for my wife to show up. So I'm bored out of my mind. She's not my wife at the time. She's my girlfriend. And this is going to be kind of the first official time that we're moving in to an apartment. So I'm waiting for her to come out. And again, it's a whole month before she does. So I'm working in this office, and it's in video games. I work in video games in the daytime. So it's pretty fun. So I decide to get this remote control blimp, which I think is awesome. It's this Mylar blimp. It's huge. It's got this awesome cradle in it, and it's big enough to stick a camera in the cradle if you were able to buy a little camera at the time and hook it up to a TV. And so I go looking for helium. Again, I don't have a car. I don't have anything. I just use the mass transportation. I get a can of helium. I bring it home. I inflate the balloon. It's awesome. I put the cradle on it. I'm flying it around the apartment. So you got to imagine this empty apartment, all wood floors, very big. I think it was 1,500 square feet. Front room and the back room. And I'm flying this blimp around all day. And I'm sitting in the living room and I'm waiting for Alon to call me on the phone. This is before cell phones. So I'm waiting on the landline, and I'm just flying the balloon around, in and out of the room, in and out of the spare room, in and out of the entry. And Alon calls, so I start talking on the phone. And as I'm talking to her on the phone, I just let the balloon drift wherever it wants to go. It's not windy in the house, but I guess there's enough air current to where this thing can kind of go wherever it goes. So it kind of drifts off. And I'm talking to Alon on the phone, and I'm talking to her, and I'm watching the balloon, and the balloon actually goes from like this random drifting mode into like very purposeful movements. It's very weird. I let it drift, and it goes into the spare room, and as I'm on the phone talking to Alon, I can see it doesn't hit any walls. It just turns ever so slightly, slowly, towards the door, and stops turning and just starts to drift out the door. And I think it's at an angle to where I think, okay, it's going to hit the wall and just bounce around. It kind of gets close to the wall and veers over as if someone's driving it, but the fans aren't going. I'm watching it. There's no fans going. It's just drifting. It drifts out the door and clears the door, no problem, doesn't hit anything, and starts moving to the middle of the room. And I'm just sitting there going, what? That's so very interesting. And I'm half listening to Alon, so I'm sure she's just like, this guy is not listening to me. And it comes up, it comes flying over towards me, and I'm watching, and just as it hits about, I don't know, a couple feet in front of me up in the air, the fans turn on, bzzzt, and starts gunning at me, and then turns off, and just drifts gently over to me. And I'm just like thinking, I'm trying to stay attentive on the phone, but at the same time, I'm like, what the heck? That was really weird. Thinking, wow, there must be some crazy radio waves in here turning this thing on. Again, I'm still like, radio waves, not a ghost. But I gave that balloon a nickname. I called it Loon because it seemed to have a personality. It would fly around the entire empty apartment, no furniture again, so it was free to move wherever it wanted. And I would come home and I would yell out, "Loon, where are you?" And I was just joking around, and that thing came whizzing around the corner. There's no engine on. I've turned off the remote. The battery's still in it because it needs it to balance out the ballast to stay balanced. So this thing is, it's drifting in midair. It would come flying out. Sometimes it would fly out to greet me. One time, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it, and I can't remember where it was. It was in one of the rooms, and I turned around. It was right there in front of my face all of a sudden, and it kind of freaked me out. And then I kind of was, you crazy balloon. All the while in the back of my head thinking, what the heck's going on? I'm not thinking about what Anna had said at this point, because again, didn't really care what she said. It didn't really register to me as something real. It was just this balloon flying around. So, very last story. Alon has moved in at this point. I haven't told her any of these weird events, because to me, I'm like, I don't think this place is haunted at all. It feels a little like someone's there with you, but it didn't really. I didn't really get that way until after several interactions with the balloon. Of course, by that time, Alon had moved in, and I was so happy to have her around, and we had furniture, and it was kind of we really made a real comfortable feel of the place. We really liked it. It was one of our favorite apartments that we've ever lived in. Until this one night. Okay, so I'm working on the computer, which again is the spare room right off the entry, right off the dining, or not the right off of the living room, in the front room, separated by a door. So, Alana's sleeping. I often, at that time, I'd work very late night or surf around the web or stuff. So I think I was modeling some woman or something. So I was looking at internet pictures of women at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course. When else would you do that? I wouldn't. It was an early stage of my relationship with Alon, so I wouldn't have done that quite in front of her yet. So it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and again, I said that there was hardwood floors. There was not carpet anywhere. Hardwood floors, and so you can hear people walk around inside, and you can hear people walk around upstairs. Well, I was sitting in the spare room again, looking at the computer, and I could hear like footsteps come from around the bedroom, but not in the bedroom. Alana's in there sleeping, and I think that maybe she's gotten up. But the footsteps were different. You know how you know people in your household, how they walk, how they move? These footsteps, they sounded like footsteps, but they didn't sound like footsteps. The creaking was very, it had a pattern to it, creak, 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 like footsteps, but at a very different pattern than my wife's, than Alon's footsteps. So I could hear it creak from about the kitchen, approach that door that would separate the front room from the back room, but I had closed it, and I didn't hear the door open, so I just heard the steps. And so after you get through this front room, from the back room to the front room, past that door, that's where this office was, and I faced away from the door, so I could hear kind of footsteps kind of come up, kind of half footstep, half creaking. I couldn't discern if it was footsteps or not. Whatever it was, I knew it wasn't Alon. She hadn't been up, so I just kind of thought, whatever, this is creaking. I'm surfing, and again, I'm facing away from the door. There's pictures of girls in bikinis and stuff up on my computer. And I hear this creaking come up to the door behind me. And I hear, this is very strange. It's hard for me to explain. I hear a voice, not out loud, but loud in your head. It's really weird. Okay, so I hear a voice say, "What are you doing?" in a woman's voice. In my mind, I know I hear a woman's voice. I know I didn't hear it in the room, but it was loud enough in some manner that it affected me to where it stopped me from doing what I was doing. And I was just like, what is going on? But again, it wasn't out loud, like out loud. It was like, I recognize it to be out loud, but it wasn't audible. It was just as if someone had said something, and the only thing that responded was my brain. Like there was no sound waves. It's very hard to explain. And I sat there and I thought, that's not Alon's voice. It's not Anna's voice, who's the girl, the landlady who lives upstairs. It's not Pacheco's voice. And I know the front door was closed. So therefore, there is nobody behind me. So I grabbed the mouse and started moving it around. And I refused to turn around. This is all happening very fast. So I hear the footsteps back up. Creak, creak, creak. And at this point, I'm like, I need to know what the heck just happened. So I pop up, I turn around, I look out in the door, and I walk into the living room. I flip the lights on, and there's nobody. There's nobody in the room. The door between the front room and the back room is still closed. And the front door is latched, and that little extra little latch to make sure it's locked is locked. So there's nobody in the room at all. I go to the back of the house, beyond the door, look in the bathroom, I look in the kitchen, I walk into the bedroom to make sure Alon's asleep. She's fast asleep. And I'm just puzzled. I know I heard a voice, but I know that I didn't hear a voice audibly. Very strange experience. It was like I'm trying to explain, it was as if the voice went straight to my head, and I could hear it in my head, but because it didn't go to my ears, something said, that's not reality, something else is going on, we don't know what to do, go through your Rolodex of experience and figure out what to do. So that was the big thing at Damon that convinced me that place was haunted. So after that, I never told Alon, and the whole time that we'd lived there, about those things, because she wouldn't be able to handle it at that time. So I kept it to myself. So this whole time that we were living there, just weird little stuff would happen, and I would have to go, ha 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 ha, yeah, that's weird. Like the balloon again. The balloon was there when Alon was there, and even we were at a party, and we were sitting there, and everyone was in the living room, and we're flying the balloon around, and I think I had mentioned a ghost under breath to somebody, and I didn't want Alon to find out. And just at that point in time, the balloon engine went on and then turned off, and I looked at my buddy, and he just kind of laughed, thinking I did that, and I was just like, ha 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 ha, ha, yeah, that was funny. But there's all kinds of small experiences like that. Again, like Anna said, whatever was there, it wasn't malicious, wasn't bad. It was just, there was another person there, and every once in a while you could interact with this person, and it was very crazy, and it kind of brought me back to reevaluating a lot of stuff that happened to me as a kid, and how I would react to it in the future, and how I would perceive it in the future. So those are my Chicago Damon stories. Thanks, and have a good night.